What's up, guys? All right, I am going to do a quick little video on some of the items that I feel like everybody should be taking or needs to take, but doesn't. Not everyone takes these, because I know I sure didn't used to back in the day. So I'm going to go top to bottom. Start with a med kit. Sounds simple, but I still know a lot of dudes that aren't packing a med kit, or at least one that's, got the proper equipment in it to actually be effective. Selfishly, this is one that I sell over at stealthyhunter.com. It's just a 14-ounce kit. It's got everything from tourniquets to bandages to medications, you name it. Everything that you're possibly going to need. I'm willing to pack it now. I wasn't back in the day, but that was probably a foolish mistake on my part. Fortunately, I never needed it. Number two, I'm going to say tape. Sounds weird. I take a ton of tape, varieties of tape, everything from duct tape. I always have some, quite a bit actually, wrapped around the pole here. Leuco tape for that hunting partner that just always gets blisters and he needs to bum Leuco tape off you. You always have some there. I also take just some Gear Aid, some Tyvek tape, pretty much any kind of tape that I may need, from, jacket repair to tent repair, Tyvek for raft repair if I'm, packing in with a pack raft. I've just got a whole assortment of tapes that I carry, because inevitably if I don't have it, I'm probably going to need it. Also, a few of the tools that always stay with me and everybody should bring, and try not to skimp, it's not enough weight to worry about, is figure out your system, whether it's your tripod that might need an Allen wrench, or the ability to work on your gun, your rifle in the backcountry. Whatever Allen wrenches or tools that you're going to need, just pack them. You don't want to get all the way back in there and blow up a trip on over something that you could have just thrown into your kit. I've got 3 different wrenches here. They each have a purpose for whatever tool. Usually my tripod is where I tend to need it the most. I've always got a little fresh little packet of super glue in there. That can help at times. I've had to use it for boot repair, rubber rand repair. It works in a pinch. And then also rangefinder battery. Something really simple, but again, I hear horror stories from guys saying rangefinder died as soon as they needed it. So throwing in, an extra 1/4 ounce or whatever it is for an extra rangefinder battery, very worth having. As far as water purification, you should always have a backup plan. I bring a Steri pen. Some guys run pumps or Sawyer systems, filter type systems. If my Steri pen breaks, I've always got something. There's a ton of different options out there. Aquamira drops will work. I've got some iodine tabs that I use. Everybody's kind of got their own thing. Some of them take 40 minutes, some of them take an hour to make the water potable again. But pick your poison. Just, make sure that you do have a backup. Giardia is no fun. If you're an archery guy, obvious one, and I will admit I've done it many a hunts where I did not pack an extra release, but again, you're gonna probably need it. At some point, you're gonna have that thing either slide out of your pocket, you're gonna set it down, and all the excitement of a big bull or whatever, I would suggest always carrying a backup. Real easy. Yeah, it's going to cost you a little bit as far as weight goes, but not that big of a deal. Supplements probably goes unlooked at by a lot of folks. I'm older, so I know what my body does when I'm depleted and I've worked my tail off and I don't have my supplements. I don't bring a lot of them up there, but what I take at home is usually what I try to take with me on the mountain. Very lightweight, it doesn't set me back much. I'm one that takes CBD, so I take CBD every day. I also take a probiotic for my guts make sure my guts are still working good. You've got CBD gummies, and I do a CBD sleep aid as well, and then also some turmeric. Real easy, lightweight, doesn't set you back, just take them every day. Also, electrolytes, and enough electrolytes to get you through a trip. Kind of the rule with us is bring more than you think you're going to need, because generally we rarely just drink water straight anymore. It's pretty much all loaded up with electrolytes. You know, you burn through a lot of that on your hike in while you're hunting around. If you're a guy that sweats a ton, you know, you've got the lines on your hat or the lines on your shirt, man, you're just burning through salt and burning through electrolytes. So pretty near every bottle that we drink up there is loaded with it. So sometimes, you know, we're drinking through 3-4 different water bottles a day when it's hot. And so definitely just make sure that you bring a high quality electrolyte that works for you. Tarp, overlooked by many. I never overlook it anymore. It always comes with. You know, this will save your bacon if you have a storm come in and you've walked away from your teepee, and you want to stay dry and keep glassing. You know, springtime especially, you know, we live under this tarp, you know, when the weather comes in. And it just keeps us in the game, you know, it keeps us glassing up those bears, and we don't have to go back to the shelter of our base camp. So it's also a good backup in case you have to stay on the mountain, you know, you have to overnight it or whatever. This will save your bacon, you know, if it starts raining or snowing or whatever on you. So lightweight, a lot of tarps out there, extremely lightweight. I'd recommend carrying one. Probably one that a lot more people should carry on certain trips, you know, micro spikes. These are some Catula micro spikes. I started using these way back in the day when I did a lot of fall bear hunting up in the Alpine. You know, a lot of people think of spikes and crampons as just ice for ice and late season stuff. But if you're in an environment where the grass is wet, you know, berry fields, everything's pointed down, avalanche chutes, you know, they get wet, they get really, really slippery. And if you've taken an animal and you got to go back down, even just a yellow grass chute that you got to dump down into, I spike up and I get down there without falling on my can over and over and over again. I just did a hunt this summer up in Alaska, and there were some that had micro spikes, and those were happy campers. And then there were some that didn't have micro spikes, and they fell a lot. So there's a little bit of a weight penalty here. I think they're a little over a pound, but well worth having. Any hunt where I think there's a potential, it's pretty rare that I regret taking these things, because oftentimes I end up using them if I get weather. High quality fire starter. You know, I used to get by with cotton balls, real cheap, dipped in some Vaseline, and I made up my own fire starter. And those are great, and they're wicked good in certain conditions. The problem with, you know, quick burning fire starters is, yeah, they light really well, but they go out fast. So if you're in an environment, again, I'll bring up Alaska, it's very wet, you know, very humid. You know, you're gonna be trying to burn and dry out your tinder sometimes. So I'd recommend finding, you know, a high quality, high temp starter that's gonna actually burn for a while. Personally, I found that Espit works. They're just these little blocks. They work really well for me. They're very cheap. They light fairly well, but they burn for a very long time. And I found that helps when you're trying to get your fire going in the morning, or you're in a bad spot. You've gotten wet and you really need to make sure you dry out, and you're in a pinch. You know, I don't go on the cheap when it comes to fire starters anymore. There's a lot of great options out there. Just make sure you get one that burns hot and burns for a while, you know. Can't stress that enough. Boot dryers is one that I think more people should probably take. You know, I hear a ton of guys out there still rocking poor boots, and they're slogging around in wet boots often. You know, sometimes it's it's on them for not getting a high quality pair of boots. Sometimes it's just a set of circumstances. Maybe they went in crossing a creek or whatever, or gaiters failed, or they didn't have gaiters and their boots are just full of water. So I think more people should bring these, and it kind of just eliminates wet feet, eliminates having to put wet boots on in the morning. You know, these are real easy to use. It's a USB plug-in. We usually get a fire going. We hang the boots up a little bit, elevate them, and just drop these into the boot. Hot air goes in, boots are dry by morning, and you're back in the game. So one of those pieces of gear I feel like more people probably should take, especially if you're one that gets blisters easily and are real susceptible to those in a wet boot. Gaiters. Gaiters, you know, one of those pieces that not everybody thinks they need. But man, if you're hunting out west and you're crossing rivers, you know, it's not just for like trudging through deep snow. You know, we run across rivers all the time. And the last thing I want to be doing is having to, you know, try to take my boots all the way off and get wet feet to cross over and then put my boots on. So these gaiters, these are Peaks gaiters, just prevent that from happening. If I'm running across water that's a foot up on my calf here, I'm just going across it and I'm not gonna have a wet boot. You know, you can't just linger, but I would say this is one of those pieces of gear that more people should take if they don't already. Again, it's not just for deep snow. A solar charger. I would highly recommend everyone pack some way of recharging your power banks. You know, everything runs on power these days. So, you know, disaster can happen if your phone's not charged, your inReach isn't charged, you can't communicate with the outside world, you can't send an SOS simply because you ran through all the juice in your power bank. If you carry a little solar panel, I think these are 14, 15 ounces, something like that. It's a little bit of a penalty, but it's just peace of mind that, you know, you're not gonna run into that problem. I've used these a ton. I'll set it, basically, if there's any sun out at all, I set this, I walk away from camp, I come back, and my dark energy power bank is completely back to full bar, 4 bars, and I'm back in the game, and I don't have to worry about always skimping on juice. You know, I can be looking at my maps all day long, leaving tracks all day long, and I'm always loaded up with juice. So highly recommend. I know not everybody brings it, but if you're serious about backcountry hunting and you still want to keep it light and not have to pack like 4 or 5 power banks, get a solar charger. They've come a long way. And that's about it. Those are just some of the items that I think really help. Not everybody takes them, but as I get older, I found that these are pieces that I never leave home without.